to, let's just do this, okay? What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the VL71 podcast. I'm your host, Victoria. And it has been a while because I've been working.
Wow!
Although I did not get another corporate job, I've been working as a server. So as I've been waiting for my ships to sail in, I decided, I gotta do something because the money that's owed to me, is still taking a long time to come in. But I can't just sit around and do nothing. Like, these bills aren't stopping. So I decided to take on a job as a server at a restaurant chain that is kind of here locally in DC, but they're looking to expand. Not gonna say the name of the restaurant just because they ain't none of y'all's business. But also, I am just not sure how long I'll be there. If I'm being honest, I appreciate the job because it does bring me some income and it does allow me to walk away most nights with cash in hand. So we started out training. So we were in almost basically a month of training. It was 3.5 weeks of training. And during the training period, there was also a soft opening or a soft launch, if you will, where we served people, but they weren't really paying for their bills. They were just encouraged to tip us. And I actually made out okay, decent, during those soft opening nights. I was getting tipped in all cash, and I was going home with, decent amount of money for the relatively 2 hours per night that we were actually serving guests. So I couldn't complain. But then the restaurant has since opened to the public, and it's just been super slow. One, because this weather, it's May, but it's fall weather outside. So that's a deterrent. People want to be outside when it's nice, not when it's raining and cold. And even though, we did have some patrons and people are still out, it just isn't the crowd that I think that they were expecting or that anyone would be expecting in April, May in DC. So it's been really slow. But not only that, it is very physically demanding. I've always had respect for servers. I've always tipped well because I believe in that. I understand the service industry, and I've worked in it before, when I was in college and long time ago. So I understand the importance of tipping well and how hard a lot of servers work. But y'all, it is a different level. My body, I have been in constant back pain for the past 3.5 weeks because of all the walking and moving and being on my feet all day. And it's literally just nonstop. Not only am I walking to and from the metro to get to work because I don't have a car still, but I'm also walking around all day. And when I get home, I sit down, but what's weird is that my back doesn't even hurt while I'm walking around. My back hurts when I sit down to relax. And when I wake up in the morning, my back is killing me. So I went and got a massage, and I got a professional stretch. And because I realized that what helps is stretching my legs out, and I have to stretch every day, but it is literally very physically demanding work. So if for nothing else, when you go out in public and you are, getting served by a server, just not only are they only working for a little bit of money and working for your tips, but they're also really putting a lot of work on their bodies. So just be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. Treat your servers well, tip them well, and be kind to people. I know there were a lot of people who came into the restaurant during the soft opening, and they were kind of feeling some type of way about the service that they were getting. But a lot of these servers were new. They were in training. They were literally brand new, probably their first job. And so cut them some slack. What I realized, I'm just realizing that people are just, I was having a conversation with one of my Lyft drivers the other day on my way home from work or on my way to work. And he was like, I just kind of feel like during the pandemic, people were nicer and, people were like having all these spiritual awakenings and they were, realizing what was really important to them and they were nice to people. And now I feel like people are getting back to this, like, I'm better than you, or, just being selfish, not being kind. And I agree with him. I'm even noticing that with organizations and companies. I've been applying for jobs since I got laid off. You all know that. And I feel like a lot of these organizations are really starting to let go of the values that they adopted during the pandemic that were mainly to put their people first. I don't care what era we're in. Organizations need to understand that yes, if you're customer facing or you have a service or product that you're selling to the public, yes, that is what keeps your business in business, right? But it is your people that will help your business grow. And if you don't treat your people well, then you're gonna continuously have high turnover, CEO complaints, lawsuits even, because people need to feel valued. I get it that there's a job to be done. There's a job to be done to make the business stay afloat. But the people are doing the job. And if you are not pouring into your people, investing into your people, listening to your people, and making it a comfortable work environment for your people, then your business will ultimately suffer. This whole mentality of like C-suite and like us versus them, or being in corporate versus in the field, which is a major diversity, equity, and inclusion term that needs to be like completely eliminated, because what in the heck is in the field? What is that likened to? Okay, just think about it. But that mentality of us versus them, it used to work back in the day, but when people started to wake up and people started to realize that, oh, this is not an equitable environment for people to grow in, businesses started to suffer. You start noticing like the cancellation of businesses and people and high executives who don't treat their people well. I don't care what industry it is. Like the restaurant industry, yes, like I said, these people, me included, work hard, okay? There are even things that you're not seeing that are going on behind the scenes. And for some of these organizations to have like rules about small things like breaks, taking breaks, or eating on the job, like it's inhumane. It is inhumane. And there are so many things that I've been exposed to, even at the place I'm working at, that I just don't agree with ethically. Ethically, it's like, how can you treat people like this? And I understand there are labor laws, and there are certain, states that have certain labor laws that require you to take breaks after a certain amount of time. And then there are certain states and districts, like the District of Columbia, that don't require that. They don't follow certain labor laws. But that does not mean that the people running the organization can't create their own rules to put their people first. And that's what I'm admonishing business owners and leaders of these organizations to do. Value your people. One of the things that I did take into consideration when I started to work here was that the type of industry that it is, doesn't require certain, or it just is what it is, right? The industry, again, I'm not that familiar with the industry, but from what I know is the industry does require there to be a certain level of physical capacity and things of that nature. And while that in itself can be exclusive to people with physical limitations or disabilities, there are certain things that certain people may or may not be able to do in this industry. Like I'm not trying to be funny or disrespectful in any way or shape or form by making this next statement, so please don't come for me, just hear me out. It would be really difficult for someone with a physical limitation or a physical handicap, or someone who is in a wheelchair or maybe uses a device to help them walk, it would be really difficult for them to be a server. Because not only do you have to move at a faster pace and you're running around certain parts of the restaurant, but also you're required to carry certain things and lift certain things. So there are, I'm saying that to say that there are automatically things about certain industries that will exclude certain groups of people, if that makes sense. But in an effort to make any industry a diverse and inclusive and equitable environment or workplace, there are small things that these employers can actually change and implement to, in fact, help their organization move in that direction. There were so many things that I observed during this training that I was like, oh wow, they really need help in this area. And it had me thinking like, man, I can't wait to write a proposal to see how I can offer my services and my experience and my expertise as a consultant and as an organizational development professional. I can't wait to, see how I can help out, right? And as I'm getting to know some of the leaders of the organization and the principals and owners and everything, they are approachable people, but I do wonder like how much they care. I don't know that they would really necessarily care that much, because a lot of the answers that some people are getting in regards to some of the complaints or concerns that they're bringing up is like, oh, well, this is just how the industry is. Just because something is a norm in an industry does not mean that it should be the standard in an industry. You have more control over the standards that you set than you like to admit. And I just don't think it's an excuse. There's no excuse for people to be treated poorly or to be treated second class or to be treated less than or beneath because of an industry. That doesn't fly with me. So, I'm doing my part. I'm just out here trying to not only spread love and light, but also spread knowledge and help people and organizations become more equitable. Like, that's something I'm truly, genuinely passionate about. And I'm choosing to look at my placement in this current situation and in this current environment as an opportunity for me to continue to spread light and knowledge in those areas. Because is this an ideal place for me to be in life right now? No. But I'm here. And while I'm here, I need to make the best of it. I need to make the most of it. I need to maximize the opportunities that are here, and also make sure I'm doing my part to contribute positively to any environment that I'm placed in. I was thinking this the other day. I was having a bad day last week and like just having a moment, and I needed to get out of the house, and I also needed to go and deposit some cash. I was like looking for an ATM. Couldn't find an ATM that was like in my credit union's network that would take deposits. So I found a way to do Cash App deposits. Did you all know that you can do Cash App deposits with cash at local participating retailers? Yeah, it's genius. So I figured that out, and I was like, you know what, let me get out of this house. I was having a moment. I needed to go for a walk. I said, this is a perfect opportunity for me to go for a walk and go walk to 7-Eleven to deposit this cash. And I get to 7-Eleven, and there's an incident occurring in the 7-Eleven between a young couple and their baby, and it was getting ready to be deemed as a domestic violence situation. Although I did not witness any domestic violence actually taking place, it could have led to that. And while I was in the store, I was just already vexed. My spirit was already vexed with my situation, with what was going on with me. But something in me was just like, things were escalating in the store, and something in me was just like, this has to stop. Like, I need peace, okay? Even when I'm struggling with something internally, I need peace. So I go into the store, and then this chaos is breaking out, and something in my spirit was just like, no, not today, Satan. Not today, Satan. So I just talked to the young man. I was like, look, what's going on? And long story short, we had a conversation. He was able to calm down. He turned out to be a really nice young man. They were just having an issue, bad communication, arguing. The police were called. The police came in, rah, rah, ha, ha, like they normally do, which I get it. They're in an environment where that it calls for that. But every situation don't call for that. I think if you approach situations slightly differently, just try a different approach. Just try it. If you're a police officer and you're watching this, please just try a different approach than what you're used to. Police officer came in, hey, so it made the young man get rowdy again. And I'm like, yo, he was fine, he was calm, but you come in being rah-rah, then he gonna match that energy. So I told the police officer, like, yo, chill, I got this. He was confused a little bit because he was like, wait, are you with him? No, I'm not with him, but you come in here just escalating the situation. Just relax, okay? Anyway, turned out we got everything calm. The young man turned out to be a really nice, sweet young man. He just needed to vent. He just needed someone to listen to him. He just needed someone to hear him out. I did, correct his action and tell him that making threats, especially to a woman, especially to the mother of his child, is never acceptable, and that will always get him in trouble, and he needs to be mindful of that. Even if he's never put his hands on her, making threats to do so is not okay. So I did counsel him, but I also was able to talk to him and calm him down and ultimately diffuse a situation. And I just felt like in situations like that, where I wasn't necessarily planning on going there, I didn't want to be there, but I wanted to get out of the house because I needed to find peace. I have to bring the peace. Sometimes you have to bring the peace where you are. And that's exactly what I decided to do. And so that's how I'm looking at this situation with me at the restaurant as well. It's like, it's not an ideal environment to work in. It's not horrible, because I think that they have a certain standard. There's a little bit of a higher standard at this restaurant, but there are still aspects of the restaurant and being in this environment that are just not ideal. And they also are not very inclusive. They're not very safe. They don't put their people first. They're not really thinking about, it in terms of safety for us, or in terms of making it a comfortable environment for us. It's really about and honestly, I feel like they feel like, well, we don't really care about making it comfortable for you because we want to make it comfortable for our guests. And that's just not the right mentality to have. I just don't think that the guests who come in the restaurant care that much about what door we enter and exit through. I understand everything speaks and images speak, but that whole mentality of the help entering into a certain door, again, what does that make you think of? What does that make you think of? And that's the thing I'm trying to get a lot of organizations to understand, is that corporate America in itself is rooted and ingrained in white supremacy and a slave mentality. It just is. It just is what it is. It's always going to be a us versus them. There's always going to be the hierarchy. And I just don't subscribe to that. Maybe that's why God has not allowed me to be put back into some of these corporate environments, because I don't subscribe to that. I do believe that everyone should be on equal footing in terms of treatment and in terms of how we are spoken to, how we're treated. Pay, that's different. Pay should be based on obviously level of expertise, skill, maybe even length of time there, not on gender, not on race. Those two things should not be considered when thinking about equal pay. So get that out your mind. But when you're doing a different job than someone that is, has lesser responsibilities, then yes, pay is not going to necessarily be equitable in that regard. But in terms of the environment and the treatment of people, that should always be equitable. There should never be a situation where it's like, oh, well, we do this because we don't want the guests to see our people, doing X, Y, and Z. That's utter bullcrap. It just is. And you can't convince me otherwise. Sorry. All of that is making me realize just what I'm really truly passionate about. And it also is helping me realize work that I can do in ways that I can niche myself in terms of the offerings that the services that I offer as a consultant or with my business or in any organization that I decide to work with again. That's my mission. I want everyone to not only feel valued and be treated equally, but also understand how they can bring their full selves to work and that be acceptable and be in environments where it is inclusive for them, and that the people who are in charge or in leadership are seeing to it that the environment stays equitable for everyone. That's really truly what I'm passionate about. And I'm glad that I've come to that realization, because I've been struggling with trying to figure out like my value and my worth. Being laid off not only messes with your economic situation, but it messes with your psyche, because it makes you feel like you weren't valuable enough to an organization for them to keep you over someone else. It also makes you feel like you're not able to make mistakes, because the moment you make a mistake, then you're being measured for that. Like performance measurement in organizations, it can either hurt or help the organization and its people, honestly. And me losing my job, again, I've talked about this in earlier episodes. It made me really look inward and try to figure out who I am outside of my job title or outside of any organization that I work with or work for. And it over this time, it's really started to make me feel like I'm questioning my value. And I know that is a mentality that is coming from ideologies and constructs that were created in this world that I should not subscribe to. But the truth of the matter is, I fit into them because I've been fitting into a lot of these constructs. And so now that, I'm like not in these constructs or in these same environments, it makes a person feel less valuable. Even in terms of like being in a relationship. No, I'm not in a relationship right now. But I was thinking like, wow, what if I was in a relationship, or if I wanted to get into a relationship with someone, like what do I have to offer? And I was asking that question based on my economic situation right now, my economic status, because we hear all the time this, oh, these men want high value women. I mean, there's still conversations going on all over the griot and podcasts and everywhere about, hierarchies and who deserves the type of man, and the bus driver and the bus owner, and that it's all BS, because a bus driver and versus a bus owner, whether they make the same amount of money economically doesn't make them any more or less valuable to somebody based on that. Like that's just not enough to consider that person a high value person, and I think that whole mentality of what you have to offer in a relationship it's too much. It's based too much on economic status, because like someone like me, I have a lot to offer a person. I have a lot to bring to a relationship. But at this moment in time, economically, I don't have as much to contribute in that department. But I have a lot more to contribute in other ways. And I just think we need to consider holistically who we are as people and what we have to add as people, and outside of just what we bring economically. Because the truth of the matter is, economic statuses can change at any moment, in an instant. And does that really make you less valuable to a person or as a person? Like Tucker Carlson and what's the guy I think, Don Lemon at CNN, they just got laid off, but they're still who they are. They're still who they are. Does that make them any less valuable to their partner now because their income is now cut short or shorter? Because I'm sure they're doing okay economically. But like that to me just doesn't matter. Like I know Ebony K. Williams has a podcast, and she was talking about this with Ayanna Van Zant. About like just her stance on what Black women deserve. And I agree, we do deserve to be in situations where we can, live a soft life, if you will. But at the same time, I'm not going to turn down someone just solely based on that. Like that's just not, a lot of people would do that. A lot of people, and which is why a lot of Black women are still single, because they do still place a lot of value on a partner based on what they can bring to the table economically. And I just don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it, because we all have a standard that we want to live at. Even me, I'm like, there's a standard that I like to live at. I like to maintain a certain standard of living. And at times it's hard for me to do that, because hello, I'm not working anymore, and I didn't have the savings that I should have had, or maybe should have had, to maintain this lifestyle without being employed by someone. But that also doesn't mean that I don't have anything to contribute to a relationship, and I have to stop telling myself that I'm not valuable or worthy of partnership because of my economic status. That just doesn't make sense because it can change literally overnight. I just hate that mentality of a high value woman and a high value man has been perpetuated for so long, especially in our communities. I hate that. I do. But anyway, I'm going to continue to strive to bring value to any environment that I'm in. And I think that that's maybe one of the lessons that I'm learning in all this is that any environment I go in, even if it's just me walking down the street to 7-Eleven and happening to run into a potential violent situation, bringing peace to that situation is a part of my journey. It's a part of my purpose in my life, and it's what makes me valuable. And I'm learning that. And I'm also, because I know that nothing lasts forever, that I'm not going to be in this place forever. So I have to maximize the time that I'm in this place, at this restaurant, in these environments, meeting the people that I'm meeting, and bringing the most peace and the most joy and the most help and the most knowledge that I possibly can to these people while I have access to them. And that's just how I'm choosing to look at it. Someone called me a healer the other day, and I was like, I don't know about that, but I understood where that came from. And I do understand that that is a part of my purpose. And so I'm going to continue to try and walk in that purpose. And one of the other challenges for me while walking in that purpose is believing that for myself, being that for myself, a healer and a helper, and understanding my value and my worth and not placing it in any economic status. Anyway, I hope that helps. I hope you all understood where I was coming from with this whole podcast episode. And I hope that you continue to go out and do whatever is meaningful to you in the world, but just do right by people. Treat people the way you want to be treated. I don't care if they are the janitor. Treat them with respect and give them the same type of access and the same type of respect and the same type of have the same, I guess, expectations for them that you would for yourself. And that's just how we should live life. That's how we should all be. And if you do want to help contribute to my economic status, feel free to send me a Cash App. I'll list the Cash App. I do take Cash App, but also just buy my book. It's still available for purchase. The A to B Journal, 22 Thoughts to Enhance Your Life, still available for purchase at my website, Amazon, or barnesandnoble.com. I appreciate you so much, those of you who already purchased from me, and those of you who continue to promote the book. I love you for that. There will be a volume 2 coming really soon. I look forward to continuing to serve you all in love. All right. Bye.